Hello, I'm Rob, and this is another results tutorial. Welcome back, Middle Earthers. Today we are painting Aragon Strider from Games Workshop's Middle Earth Strategy Battle Game. We will be starting on the skin first, and for that I am using Vallejo Model Color Basic Skin Tone. Remember to thin your paints down either with some water or for some thinning medium, as they'll allow you better control over your paints and do a better job with coverage overall. Then on to the boots, and for that we'll want to use a leather color. Any color will do, but I have chosen to use Vallejo's Game Color Leather Brown. Don't worry about the straps around the calves, as we will be cleaning those up in the next step. Starting on the pants, we'll be using some Vallejo Model Air Base Grey. Not a whole lot of area to cover here, but do pick out these straps on the boots. And do your best not to spill over. If you do, just clean it up really quick with some of that leather from the previous step. Now for some Vallejo Model Color Flat Earth for the inner jacket. You pretty much just have the front section, and there's some little bitty areas around the back underneath the cloak. And for the cloak, we want to use some Vallejo Model Color Dark Green. Even though this paint says it's a dark green because we're thinning it, it should take you several coats to get a nice even coverage here. For the bow, I wanted to use a nice rich brown color, and so I chose to use Calvary Brown. But because it's so bright red brown, or such a bright red brown, I wanted to mute it down just a little bit, and for that I added in some Vallejo Model Color Flat Brown. For the bedroll, you'll want to use something slightly lighter, but still a little earthy. And for that, I felt that Vallejo Model Colors Khaki Brown did a really good job of that. Onto the hair, and Aragon in the shows has some darker brown hair, so I started off with some Vallejo Game Color Beasty Brown. I know it looks a little bit light here, but don't worry, when we shade it, it will darken up really nicely. And onto the quiver with some straight Calvary Brown. You'll notice here how I said that the Calvary Brown is a super red brown. Also, be mindful, do not cover the top or the bottom of the quiver, as we're going to do that next. And here we are for the top and the bottom of the quiver. We will be treating with that with some Vallejo Model Color Leather Brown. And for the feathers of the arrows, we will get a little bit of straight Vallejo Game Color White. And normally I don't paint in whites, just solid whites, but I really thought what are those, flechettes? Is that what you call them? The tips of the backs of the arrows where all the feathers are. I felt like doing it in white. Now for Aragon's sword, whenever I'm doing like metals, chain mail, plate mail, or swords, I always start off with a dab of Vallejo Model Air Silver and mix that in with about 3 dabs of Vallejo Model Color Black to create this nice black and steel color. And now for some straight Vallejo Model Air Steel. Remember, when we're putting this on, you want to leave the deeper recesses in the darker color as this will provide a nice shade. And speaking of shading, we're going to be starting off with the skin, and for that we'll be using Games Workshop's Reikland Fleshshade. Remember, we want to thin down our shades as they are a little strong coming straight out of the pot, and you're going to want to do that with some thinner medium, not just plain water. And also, when shading, do your best not to allow this stuff to pull up in any areas. And for pretty much the rest of the miniature, we're going to want to use a thinned down Nuln Oil. The only thing we're not going to be shading here as we go along is the sword, because we gave that a pre-shade. While we're letting our Nuln Oil shade, and after our flesh shade is dry, we can come back and start cleaning up the face and the hands. We'll be using some Vallejo Model Color Basic Skin Tone mixed in with a little bit of Vallejo Model Color Beige Red. And the reason why you want to mix these two colors together is because the flesh shade deepens the light skin tone really deep, and just coming with the basic skin tone would be really harsh. And after we're done with the flesh, we can start working on the boots again, and for that we'll be using the Vallejo Game Color Leather Brown from earlier. And for some final highlighting on the boots, we can use some Vallejo Game Color Khaki Brown. You're going to want to hit the top of the boot or the calves and between the base gray straps, and also for the tips or the tips of the toes on the boots. And back to Aragon's coat. For that, we'll be using the Vallejo Model Color Flat Earth. I put about 2 or 3 layers of this on there to get some nice definition of the raised areas from the shade areas on the coat. And for a little bit of final highlights or edge highlighting, we can be using some Vallejo Model Air US Brown here. On to the largest piece of this mini, and the original Vallejo Model Color Dark Green. You'll want to do about 2 or 3 coats of this. Remember not to destroy the recess shading, so stick it to the outer edges or raised areas. For some reason, I sort of shifted gears here and started highlighting with a Vallejo Model Air Camo Dark Green. I don't quite remember why I chose to go that direction, but you could stick with the original previous dark green and then just add in a lighter green in stages as you highlight. Remember to just take your time here and allow the previous areas to dry before you go back over them again. And to highlight my Vallejo Model Air Camo Dark Green, I came in with a Vallejo Model Air Camo Green. And at the end of the day, when I was finished painting this, I was actually pretty happy with the results, although I still don't remember why I chose to go this direction. And back to the pants with some Vallejo Model Air Base Grey. We will also be using this to clean up the leg wraps, the belts, and straps on the miniature. You really want to use a little bit thicker paint, I guess you could say, or a less thinned paint when it comes to the straps and belts, as you need greater control over your paintbrush here. So just take your time and do your best not to spill over, because it can be a little difficult to clean up at this stage in the painting. And then we can do a final highlight with the Vallejo Model Air Medium Sea Grey. Then we can come back with the original flat brown Calvary Brown color and highlight the bow. Remember, we want to just hit the higher sections of the bow, ignore the undersides. Then we can hit the quiver with some straight Calvary Brown. Now cleaning up the bedroll with our original khaki brown color. And for the hair, you want to use a pretty thin Vallejo Game Color Earth. Just remember to touch your brush to a towel after loading it up with paint, and what this is going to do is going to take off the majority of the moisture from the watered down paint. And we want to do our best to paint straight lines in various directions coming down from the crown of the head to insinuate strands of hair. And here we are, Aragon Strider from Games Workshop's Middle-earth strategy battle game. Remember, if you like this video and would like to see more, please like, subscribe, and share below. Also, you can head over to Results Media on patreon.com to help my channel to see videos early, and also you can vote on upcoming painting projects. There are also affiliate links down below for everything that I've used. These links do not cost you any extra use, but they do help my channel with my ability to purchase new paints and miniatures. As always, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.